Hello, and a big warm welcome to the Guardian Doula's Diary podcast. My name is Angela Deuce, or Angie. I'm your host and the founder of Guardian Doula. I'm a certified birth and postpartum doula and childbirth educator based on Sydney's Northern Beaches and serving women and their families all throughout Sydney. This podcast is an honest collection of the stories and experiences of birthing women and the professionals that support them to empower, equip, and inspire us all. Let's get into it. Why don't you just start by introducing yourself and tell us who you are? Who is Claire?
Hi, I'm Claire. I'm an expat. I'm British, so I'm from the UK. I've been living here in Sydney now for 7 years with my husband Sam and our dog Ziggy. We said we were going to come for 6 months, and we've been here 7 years, and we'll probably be here forever. So Australia definitely is home for us now. Very excited to be here today sharing our story of the birth of our first baby daughter, Gracie.
Precious little Gracie. I'll never forget when she came out, you said, you were like, "Hi, Gracie." And I remember Sam going, "Oh, is her name Gracie?" It was so funny.
We had two names, and it's weird. It just literally came to me the minute I saw her. And it just came out, and he was like, "Oh, okay, we're calling her that then." But I was like, you know what? It just felt right. I'm glad we went with that.
I love it. Oh, she's so precious. She's so precious. And it's so cool that you felt like it just came to you the second you saw her, because I know for so many people, you kind of hope for that. Like you hope, oh, when I see them, I'm just going to know like who they are and what their name is. And then sometimes you don't get that feeling, and you're like, oh my gosh, what should we name this baby? So it's so cool that you had that really like, almost like that fairy tale. It's so cool.
Well, I'm usually a very indecisive person, so I thought, you know how you get, I think it's 60 days to register the birth. I thought I would be going up to day 59 to register her name, but yeah, I'm glad it came then and there, and it was just like, we'll stick with it, we'll go with it, we're not changing our mind now.
I love it. Yep. Oh, so cool. Okay, why don't you just start right at the beginning and tell us all about, like, I don't know, do you want to start from when you found out that you were pregnant, and when you, just what was that like, where you...
Yeah, I think like we planned this pregnancy for a long time, and it wasn't the easiest road to fall pregnant. It took some time, and with some support from a fertility clinic as well. So we kind of knew it was coming, but we're super lucky. We had, fell pregnant and had looking back on it now, had such a beautiful pregnancy. I know I have a lot of friends that are, have the most awful sickness or symptoms. And looking back, I was so blessed. But I think because I had no symptoms in the first trimester, it almost made me more anxious, and it played on my mind more, because you kind of tell yourself you're not pregnant because you don't have symptoms. And it gets in your head a lot more. So I was very, very nervous in the first trimester. Like every scan I'd go to, I'd almost like convince myself that I wasn't pregnant. And so that living with that was actually quite tough. And don't get me wrong, I know it's much worse having to have the severe nausea and all that stuff, but it definitely did play with my mind quite a bit. And I think it was only when I got into the second trimester and you could physically see that you were pregnant that I was like, oh, okay, we'll go with this.
There's a real baby in there.
Yeah, that's it. And I had an anterior placenta as well, which meant I couldn't feel the kicks as early on. So it was definitely, it played in my mind a little bit, but then just having the bump really, really did help with that. So super cruisy pregnancy, was like, still had all my energy. I think I even went on a safari when I was like 24 weeks pregnant with work. So still had loads of energy, which was awesome. And then it was only when I got into the third trimester that it started to get, I guess, a couple of complications. So I just to give some context, I was listening to your podcast with Amber, the VBAC story, and saw a lot of similarities in the sense that she's obviously from New Zealand and was trying to navigate the Australian healthcare system. I was very much in the same boat, and it's so much more complex than what it is in the UK. We have the NHS or private, whereas here you have, MGP, GP, shared care, private care. Like it's I found it quite overwhelming, and on reflection, probably chose the wrong model of care for me. So I went down the private route, thinking I would have more complications than I did because of our journey to conceive. And I also had some kidney problems when I was a teenager. So I thought, oh, okay, I should probably get, private medicalized support. And then it was only really when I got into the pregnancy and I did a lot of education and a lot of reading, and a lot of listening to the Great Birth Rebellion podcast and other podcasts, that I started to realize that it probably wasn't the right model of care for me. But it was only really when I got up to 36 weeks that I was like, oh, okay, I really want to get a doula to help me navigate this. And it had been playing on my mind for some time. And then weirdly, I was following you, and you had one space left in February, the month I was birthing. And then I think I told you this. I'm surprised you weren't freaked out by me, but I had a dream about you, that you were helping me in my labor.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, you must have thought, what a weirdo for saying that, but we'd never even met. And I was like, it was just like, it was just like I was like, I to be honest, I didn't even shop around. I was just like, I really loved your vibe and your energy, and I just thought that is someone that I want to have in my corner, in the room for the birth of my first daughter. So I think I booked you when I was 36 weeks pregnant. It was quite late on, right?
Yeah, you were. You're about 36 weeks. And it's so cool that you've mentioned this, because I think a lot of women get to the end of their pregnancy and they have a moment similar to what you had, where you go, oh gosh, like, am I in the right model of care? Or even if they feel really good about their model of care, they might go, oh gosh, I actually wish that I had hired a doula, and is it too late now? And often it's not too late. Like, doulas tend to book out quite far in advance. I know, like, even sitting here now recording this in March, I'm literally almost fully booked till November. But sometimes things happen where, somebody will give birth earlier than expected, or people move out of the state, or, like, things happen. So sometimes you get really lucky and there's this last minute spot that just kind of becomes available, which was the case for you.
Yeah.
So you never know. It's always worth reaching out, even if you think it's too late. Always ask the question.
Yeah, and I felt like the stars really aligned for us. Like, it was just like, I'm a strong believer in fate. Like, everything happens for a reason. Like, I found your page at the right time. Like, it'd been playing on my mind. I have a really close relationship with my acupuncturist, and she was saying to me all along, have you thought about a doula? And it had been playing on my mind. But then I think, and you and I discussed this right at the start, my husband Sam was like big on being my advocate, and he didn't want to feel replaced in the room.
Yes.
But him and I had a really good chat, and he, was quickly able to understand that actually it would just make his role even more stronger, like, and more important. And that was definitely his experience. He felt a lot more confident because he had you there as well. So it was just really nice to have someone else on our team that was, working with us rather than like the hospital policy, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful.
But yeah, so the cards were a little bit stacked against me. I also had mild gestational diabetes as well. So did the tests in the third trimester, and I think I was like 0.1 over on fasting. But was able to like completely manage it through diet. Didn't actually have to change my diet that much. I think I just introduced like a bedtime snack, and that was able to control my fasting sugars overnight. But knowing that, I thought that they would definitely use that against me. And towards the end, it was a card that was played in terms of, conversations around inductions and stuff like that. So I'm definitely glad I had you in my corner to help with the balance on those kind of arguments.
Yes, and it is a balance, isn't it? Because sometimes, there's a place for medical intervention. It's not to say that it's never required, but certainly it can be overused, and we see that statistically. And, it's even the fact that you did have a really well-controlled case of gestational diabetes, and also a very borderline result. Like, as you said, it was still a card that was almost like played against you, which is a little bit frustrating. And I mean, baby girl was perfect, and she wasn't too big, or like, it all was fine. So
exactly.
I'll let you explain how you got there? I shouldn't give spoilers.
Yeah, so I guess I should give some context as well. Is like, not only did I feel, a gut instinct that I wanted to have a doula on my team, but I had decided just from like education that I was leaning more towards like a more natural led birth, with minimal intervention. So I was kind of well informed of the cascade of interventions, and had decided early on that if I could, I wanted to give it a red hot go myself. Obviously, I know there's a place for interventions, as you say, but I was really keen to just let my body do its thing, and just, go into that kind of primal motherhood moment, and just really embrace it. So I guess that was my vision, and I knew that having a doula in my corner would really help me realize that. But then it is quite difficult, from what I've learned, to have that kind of experience in a private medicalized setting. So yeah, there's multiple reasons why I guess we thought having a doula support would really help with that. So yeah, I think got in touch with you, as we say, on the 36-week mark, and we had a couple of sessions, didn't we? And you kind of talked through all the different things that we can be doing. So you introduced us to optimal maternal positioning. So we got doing that quite late on, but we did it every day, our little stretches and jiggles and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all the stuff to bring on labour naturally. So that was great. And I think just having you there as well, for questions, like when we would be presented with stuff like, should we do the Group B strep swab and have that, and just knowing the knock-on effect of, having a positive test result and how that might shape the journey of our labour and delivery as well. So yeah, just having you there was really, really helpful, to go into those conversations with our obstetricians team more well informed. So yeah, that was great. Oh, sorry, I'm like trying to figure out how to stay on track here.
You're doing amazing. This is like, I'm
sorry.
I'm reliving it all. I'm sitting here just smiling like, oh yes, I remember doing all the OMP stretches, and you guys were amazing. I think there's so much to be said for a couple that is just motivated and disciplined in doing all the things, like you guys were so great when it came to doing the stretches, and there's so much that we can control about birth. Obviously there's a lot that we can't control, but something that I feel like I'm constantly just talking about this till the cows come home is that there is so much that we can do to really improve our odds, and you guys did all of that. You realized, okay, so maybe we're not in, I suppose, the model of care that is statistically conducive to the outcome that we want, but let's hire the doula then, let's do the OMP stretches, let's do everything that we can do, laboring at home for as long as possible. Like, you guys were just so beautifully committed to doing your part, which I just think is so encouraging and so beautiful.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is like mindset as well, isn't it? Like, you get to the stage of pregnancy where you really have to choose between, like, being scared of what could go wrong, or just literally embracing it and just rolling with the punches, and just trying everything to support a more natural journey into parenthood. So yeah, I think it was really good to just have your help with like the right resources and what we could be doing, because it can be quite overwhelming, can't it? So yeah. So did all those stretches, and raspberry leaf tea, and lots of walking and things like that to try and bring on labour naturally. But I must admit, when I started to get towards the end of my pregnancy, and you get multiple people being like, any news, any baby news, it does tend to like get in your head a little bit, and you start to really focus on when you're going to have the baby. And then obviously I had tried to condition myself that it's a due window, it's not a due date, but you still towards the end are kind of like, okay, when is this going to happen? And I'd been really good at like maintaining a really positive mindset, but I had one day where I was just like a little bit fed up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be pregnant forever. Like, this baby's never going to come. And I was only, around my due date. So, I've full respect to those women that go up to 42 weeks, because it is a real mental, it's a mind game keeping yourself positive. But had this day where I was just in a bit of a funk, and Sam was like, look, let's go for a walk by the coast and do something nice and get some nice food. did all that, but was still feeling a little bit like, oh God, I'm just going to be pregnant for so long. And then, sure as hell, that morning after, I was in bed and felt a pop, and my waters broke. So it was just
Yeah.
crazy. Then it happened. Then it was like my body was like, okay, let's get things moving. So my waters broke, and then I think I called you, and we talked through the options and spoke to the obstetricians team as well. And they were like, look, if your contractions haven't started, might be worth just going in to check baby's movements and all that stuff. So to be honest, we didn't rush. We kind of stayed at home as long as possible. My waters kept breaking throughout that morning. Um, it's actually quite funny. Bit of a side note. I wanted to fake tan so that I would be nice and brown for the
That's
delivery.
so
I know.
funny.
And Sam was like, "What are you doing, Claire?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just putting a bit of fake tan on so I'm not pale when I meet our daughter." And he was like, "What?" But of course, as I kept doing it, my waters kept breaking, so I kept having to reapply the fake tan, which was quite hilarious. So it shows you how much of a rush I wasn't in. But and then I
That's
think
amazing. That's so
yeah,
good.
it got to around like 11 a.m. and we were like, okay, we'll just go and check baby's movements. Obviously, didn't take anything with us. And then when we got to the hospital, they started to monitor and everything seemed fine. But they wanted to keep me in, weirdly, and there was a recommendation of induction because my
Mm,
contractions hadn't started, but my waters had broken. And I think that's when
mm.
I just called you and I was like, this is just so weird that they're recommending inducing me when obviously my body's doing its thing and it's going into the right natural progression. And I think, yeah, just having your support then of being like, absolutely not, you do not need to be induced. Like, you, as you say, your body's doing the right thing. Go home, get some nice food, put a good playlist on, and just wait for labor to start, contractions to start naturally. So we kind of did that. With your support, I felt a lot more confident pushing back on that, and
Yeah.
sure as hell. But by the time we got home, the contractions started. They were quite mild. I had my fun playlist on, and then I think by like 4 o'clock or 4:30, so like 3 hours after we'd gotten home, they really started to ramp up. And I think it was Sam was sending you screenshots, right, of the
Yeah.
contraction timer. Yeah,
Yeah, he was. He was timing them every few hours and he would send me a screenshot. I remember when you guys left the hospital, you sent me a voice note saying, like, oh, yep, we feel really good about going home and just waiting for things to start naturally. Because as you said, like, honestly, it had only been, if I remember correctly, you messaged me at about 6 o'clock that morning saying that your waters had broken.
yeah,
And it was only 4 or 5 hours after that that they said, I think you should stay and be induced to speed this up, which is crazy because of what the evidence says about, giving it a lot more time than that.
yeah.
But I remember you sending me this voice note and you were like, we're just going to wait for things to start on their own. And I'm already having some mild cramping anyway. I think things are starting. And in your voice message, you were like, oh, actually, I'm having one right now. Oh, this one's really spicy. And I remember smiling because the way you described it, you were like, oh, it's a bit spicy, this one. And I just thought that was so sweet. It was so cool, so
I
exciting.
think that was my first actual contraction when I was mid voice note to you. So good timing, hey.
So
But
good.
yeah, absolutely. It kind of it ramped up after that. And I think by the time you arrived, I definitely needed you there. I
Yeah.
remember you coming into the bathroom, and I was like, okay, this is like, yeah, this I really needed you. Because Sam was kind of running around trying to get everything sorted, get the bag ready for the hospital, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I had been in the shower. I had the shower on my back, and that was great. But then I needed something else. I think I had the TENS machine on, but I don't know if the TENS machine really works that well for me on reflection. Like, I don't think it.
Mm,
I know for some women they absolutely love it. I don't think it really took the edge off enough for me.
yeah.
So yeah, you came with all your bits and pieces, your heat packs, and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I actually remember at one point, like leaning on you and being worried because you're quite petite. I was thinking, I'm going to break her. Like I'm literally putting so much pressure and so much weight on her right now. But you're surprisingly strong for your size. So,
Thank you,
um,
Claire. That's why I go to F45.
yeah, you were just like literally holding all the weight of me, which was great. So yeah, it was awesome having you there. We tried different positions and stuff like that, didn't we? Different. We tried the heat packs, we put the birth combs. and had different playlists on. And then decided to go to the hospital in mid rush hour traffic, hey? Over the Harbour
Yes,
Bridge.
that traffic was so bad. I was feeling so bad for
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah, I was just like, I had my headphones in and my hypnobirthing kind of meditation playlist and counting on. I had birth combs and the TENS machine on, but I still was kind of like wanting to get out on the Harbour Bridge and be like, move out the way. I need to
Yes.
get to the hospital and get more comfy because obviously you're sat and you can't move when you're in the car, so it's not
Yeah.
ideal.
No.
But anyway, we rocked up to the hospital and into the birthing suite, and was lucky enough to have a birthing suite with a big bath, which is kind of what I wanted because I knew a water birth would be amazing. I'm Pisces and I love water. I always feel really calm in water, so wanted to have that. So it was great to have that. I think we started with the shower again for that pain relief on the back, and then moved to the gas and air, which I absolutely loved, and I think on reflection, it really helped me focus on my breathing, my kind of in for
Yes.
4, out for 8.
Mm.
So it was good to have like a practical way of hearing the breath and stuff like that. So I think that's probably why it worked so well for me. Um, and then, yeah, eventually got into the bath. They kept trying to monitor me though, didn't they? They kept wanting to monitor the baby's heart rate. I can't remember. Was that because
Yes.
of that was because of the gestational diabetes, right?
That's what they said. Yeah, that's what they
Yeah.
said. They were pretty keen to do continuous CTG monitoring, and I mean, it's one of those really tricky things for anyone listening to this who wants to learn about CTG monitoring and the place for it. I would very, very highly recommend you go and listen to the Great Birth Rebellion episodes on this to get a bigger and a deeper and a broader picture. But essentially, there's actually not great evidence to support the use of continuous CTG unless you are being induced. So it's a really tricky one. A lot of hospitals policy is that it's just something that they do and they have to recommend it. You were an absolute champion, Claire, copying I mean, it's frustrating for the woman in labor because there's constant like, oh, can you just move here, we've got to adjust this, or oh, the baby's, we're not picking up on the heart rate, which is terrifying to hear that, even if like, well, everything's fine, it's just that this is a dodgy trace, like it's just not in the right spot. It can be really off-putting. So it's one of those sort of frustrating things, and it's definitely as well for anyone listening, it's always your choice. Like you can always, if it's annoying you and you're like, no, this is just causing me more stress and it's getting in the way of my groove, I can't move around freely, they're interrupting me all the time, asking me to stand up out of the water or get out the shower to adjust it, or whatever, you can always just say, look, I'm not doing this. Like it's always your choice, which I remember you eventually did kind of say, okay.
Yeah, because I would liken it, and I had a lovely midwife, I must say, but I would
Yeah.
liken it to like a mosquito like buzzing around you. When you're
Yes.
just trying to enjoy like a nice summer's day, like sunbathing and doing something really nice, keep the positive vibes high, and just having someone constantly being around you. That I think I did find it quite, quite intrusive. But the
Mm.
one good thing I would say about having the bath eventually is that kind of physical barrier between you and everyone else was kind of good in a
Yes.
sense, because it allowed me just to go into my own little space and just really do my thing, which was awesome. But I think we did have to tell them to stop monitoring at one point because it was very frustrating.
Yeah, I
And there
think
was
the word
also,
intrusive is such a good word to describe that. It really
yeah,
intrusive. That's like the perfect word that you could have used. Yeah.
yeah, but I think there was also one stage as well where they wanted me, because it was the hospital's policy not to deliver in the water. And I
Yeah.
think they asked me a couple of times to get out of the bath. And I had said no. And you were like whispering in my ear, like, the way you said no was great then. And I was like, it gave me more confidence to be like, no again. So it was really good to have you being like, yes, like you can do this. Like, it's all your choice. Like, it's all great to have you, just to give me that confidence in pushing back for sure. But yeah, I've like had a great experience in the bath. I know you and Sam were like pouring the water over me and things like that. There was only one time that I was a complete dragon, and that was when Sam decided to have a Red Bull, right? And
Oh,
I
I
could smell
remember.
it. Yeah. I was like, what is
Yes.
that smell? And the midwife is like, is it this? Is it that? We can turn this off. And I was like, it's like Red Bull. And then Sam was just like telling me afterwards that his stomach dropped because he was like, I know that was me, but I just needed to try and keep my energy levels high. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Red Bull, get it away from me. And he said that he
Yeah.
went out the room, washed his mouth out, and then came back in and had his shirt over his mouth so that I couldn't
Yeah.
smell the Red Bull. Bless him.
That was so funny. I remember his face when you were like, "Is that Red Bull?" He just looked at me and I was like, "Uh-oh."
It's such a strong smell though, isn't it? I was like, oh, this is, yeah, not fun. But anyway, it's a funny story to look back on. Um, yeah, so there's only one real dragon moment there.
And
But
you
yeah,
weren't even
like,
a dragon. Not at
yeah,
all.
yeah. But yeah, great experience in the water. Like I found it just amazing. And it helped pass the time quite a lot, I would say. I think I still had the gas and air as well, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess, yeah, after that, there was one moment when the obstetrician came in to check how far dilated along I was. And I was like, I don't want to know in case it kind of disheartened me and knocked me back a little bit. But
Yeah.
then you like whispered to me, like, no, Claire, you'll want to know this. And I was like, you sure? And you were like, yeah, absolutely. And it did motivate me because I was like 9 centimeters. So
Yeah.
pro- progressing quite quickly. And yeah, that was awesome. And then I think after that, I mean, that's kind of where it kind of went off the birth plan. But we always know with a birth plan, you have your preferences, but you need to be flexible to some extent because you never know which shape it's going to take. And then I think I had to get out, didn't I? Because she wasn't progressing that much, and we just needed a bit of help. So unfortunately did have to have an episiotomy, which wasn't my preference, but at the time, it was the right thing to do,
Mm.
because she wasn't, yeah, moving down. I think was that your take on it as well? Like she wasn't moving that last little bit as quickly as could have been, or
It was, yeah, so she was right there. She was really close and her head was sort of trying to come through. But what it looked like was, and we tried a few positional things, which I think is good. And I'm so glad that we tried those techniques first, because I always think, like, unless it's a serious emergency, it's good to try those other techniques first. And so I remember you stood up in the bathroom area, and that really worked. Like, it helped a little bit, but then kind of, yeah, it was just her head was kind of struggling to come out. And so then we tried a couple of other positions using the bed. And then I think they kind of started to get a little bit more concerned about her heart rate. And so they were like, look, it would be good to get her out sooner than later.
yeah.
But I don't know, like, how did that moment feel to you when the episiotomy was recommended? Because I'm so mindful that often it's not so much about episiotomies themselves that are the issue or that cause, birth trauma. It's often the way that it's presented to a woman. Like, if it's presented as an option and you're given the autonomy to make the decision, it's a lot less traumatic usually. How did that feel for you when that was recommended?
Yeah, look, I felt in control at every decision making point, for sure. I think what really helped me was, I think Sam had a look and it was explained to him why the
Yeah.
episiotomy was needed. And he completely understood that and kind of explained that to me and said, look, I do think it would be the right decision. And
Yeah.
at that point, it had gone to plan as much as you can have a plan, at 85% the way that I wanted it
Mm.
to. But it was just that kind of crunchy part at the end where we
Yeah.
just needed to get her out. And then on reflection, I think it was the right thing to do because she had mucus on her lungs and was really struggling to breathe when she was first born. So, yeah, it felt like the right thing at that point. And obviously she came out fairly quickly, but then there was a bit of a state of panic because she wasn't crying and wasn't breathing. And all I remember is I think she was on my chest for like literally like 30 seconds and then kind of rushed to the corner of the room and we had like the pediatrician in there and that kind of stuff. And that was when, and I've spoken to so many friends about this, that was when your support was like the most important to me because I get
Oh,
emotional speaking about it, but it was so scary. And I think
Oh,
I wanted Sam to stay with her while she was kind of looked after and that kind of stuff, but you never let go of my hand. Like
oh,
you just made me feel like so supported, because I think in those circumstances, obviously, all the focus is on the baby,
yeah,
and there's usually no one there holding the mum's hand. But you
yeah.
literally never left my side, and she went off to special care, and Sam went with her so that he could do skin to skin eventually and things like that. And
Mm.
yeah, just having you there, holding my hand, talking me through it, whispering in my ear that it was all going to be okay. That was just amazing, because you go from
Oh,
having 15 people in the room to having no one. So
yes.
yeah, without you, I would have felt so alone and scared and just wondering what was going on. But you were just like the voice of reason in that time, and we were just having
Oh,
general chats about your kids and stuff like that, which just helped me take my mind off, what could go wrong and things like that. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, and I remember those precious moments when things had kind of settled down and, you knew she was okay and she was being checked over in special care nursery. I remember you FaceTiming your family and, us chatting about, you were telling me about the English tradition of tea and toast after you have a baby, and I'd never heard of that before. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, it was just a beautiful, I'm so grateful that I was able to be there with you. And you're so right, like to go from just such an intense moment where there is that concern around baby's well-being and she needed a little bit of extra help and um, yeah, it would have been so awful to have been left alone in that moment. And yeah, oh my gosh, I had tears in my eyes as you were just talking
Yeah.
before. It's such an honor to have been with you and to have held your hand through such an intense moment.
Yeah.
You were so amazing and so brave, Claire.
Yeah, I think that, and that's the power of having a doula, is like they are there for you. Like all the medical team are there for the baby, and they'll help you as well. But just having that mental support of just someone being like, it's going to be okay, and holding your hand is so valuable. So yeah, that was amazing. And then I think eventually we went down to the special care unit after I'd had my tea and toast, which, as you,
Yes.
yeah, we had a Irish midwife, didn't we? So
Yeah.
she was big up on the tradition of having tea and toast. So had that, and then we went down there, and I think yeah, saw Gracie and did our first feed, and then yeah, and then I think it was like 1 or 2 in the morning, and I don't know how you maintain the energy that you did without the Red Bull, thankfully. But yeah, I know that you went home then, and we had our little blissful golden hour, even though it was a little bit delayed with the baby, and then
Yeah.
onwards and upwards from there.
So amazing. Oh, she's such a lucky little girl to have you and Sam as her mum and dad. You guys are just
Uh,
so phenomenal. Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, we feel very, very blessed. Like although her lungs didn't work, that well in the first hour after birth, she's sure as hell showing us that they work now. She's 4 weeks old, and she's definitely an opinionated lady, which is good, because you gotta share your opinions in this world.
that's it. Oh, so sweet. So amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. And was it like on reflection, do you feel like giving birth was similar to what you imagined? I always love to ask people like after they have their first baby, do you feel like the intensity of labor and the experience, like was it what you had imagined, or do you feel like you just can't imagine until you experience it, like just how
It,
crazy it is?
it's a bit of both. Like someone had said to me that you go into this side of yourself that you never have met before, and it's
Mm,
amazing. And there's definitely that. It's like, wow, I remember being like, I can do this. Like me and my baby are working as a team together. Those are the kind of affirmations that were going around in my head. And it really is like
mm,
that. Like women are just so amazing. We just go into this kind of primal state of just doing something that is so natural, and it's just the most beautiful experience ever. And I think I feel I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like looking back, I loved it.
wow.
I know not everyone has an amazing experience, but because I had the right support system in place, like I just really weirdly enjoyed it. Like obviously, don't get me wrong, it's uncomfortable, but to be able to do something like that and have such a beautiful experience into parenthood, yeah, I feel truly blessed. So yeah,
Wow.
I would love to do it all over again. And I have friends that have had, super traumatic first birth experience, and then have gone down the path of like learning and educating and getting in a positive mindset and have a redemptive second experience. But I just feel blessed that I'd kind of done that education prior and was
Yeah.
able to have a super positive experience first time round.
That's so cool. I feel like it's really unfortunate, the idea that your first birth is almost like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people seem to have that mindset, and they're like, oh, for our first baby, we don't want to hire the doula, or we don't want to whatever. Like we're just gonna see how we go the first time. But I think that's really unfortunate because, you know, like if you just put everything in place the first time, then it's so much more likely that you have a really beautiful, positive experience the first time. Like why do we need to be traumatized the first time before we then go and do all the things the second time, So I love that you did it all the first time.
I think you're absolutely right. Like to be able to look back on it and be like, I could do it all again, and feel positive about it is worth its weight in gold, because I don't know how you can get thrust into the world of parenthood,
Yes.
which is super stressful anyway, and then have
Yes.
the stress of it, birth trauma weighing on your mind as well. I just don't know how people navigate it. So I just feel really lucky to have been able to focus on just surviving the newborn stage without having the
Yeah.
hangover of those traumatic feelings.
Yeah. Oh, you're so right. Even if you have like a phenomenal birth, it's still a huge, huge, huge mountain to then climb postpartum. Like you're figuring out feeding, you're tired, it's such a huge life change, and it's a beautiful life change, but it's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a lot of issues with breastfeeding at the start as well. And I think had I been in, mental and physical pain from the birth, and also had to deal with all the issues I had with breastfeeding, I don't know, it would have broken me. So
Yeah.
yeah, I actually joked with the midwives that I would rather do the birth 10 times over than the pain I had with breastfeeding at the start. So that says it all,
Wow.
really.
Yes, I was a little bit like that too, actually. After my first few babies, I was like,
Yeah.
giving birth was the easy part for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
So
so do you want to share a tiny bit about your experience around what was helpful navigating breastfeeding? Did you end up hiring a lactation consultant, or was your mum, because I know your mum's a lactation consultant and she stayed with you for a while?
yeah, so I actually did. I had our midwife that saw us through the obstetrician care. She's amazing and is also a lactation consultant. So
Awesome.
came to my house. Also really lucky with the midwives at the hospital. They were all great. And kind of got to the point where I'd been trying to persevere as much as possible, but
Yeah.
my nipples were just completely traumatized. So I did have to take a
Oh,
break and pump. So we expressed and gave her express milk for, I think it was 48 hours in the end. We just had to, because I'd kept trying to do it and it just was setting me back a little bit further.
oh,
And look,
Claire.
it wasn't what I wanted to do. I wanted to, be able to feed her early on, but I just had to have that bit of a reset. And now I'm exclusively breastfeeding, and it's amazing, and I absolutely love it. So
Wow.
yeah, I think one thing I learned from that is not everything goes to plan or how you expect it to go, but sometimes you just need to pivot to be able to
Mm.
get the long term goal that you're working towards. So yeah, it was definitely worth it.
Oh, you are so amazing. It's so hard persisting through breastfeeding challenges. So yeah, seriously, hats off to you. And I'm proud of you for bringing in all the supports and getting that lactation support. And, yeah, I think when it comes to breastfeeding, early intervention is so key.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so that's
absolutely. Yeah,
so good
yeah,
that you're thriving now, though, and that it's going beautifully now. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I think that's the learning throughout the whole process is like find the expert in each space when you need them, and definitely
Yes.
lean on them. But also, we're amazing, and there's a lot of like natural progression that a woman's body can go on as they go through the motherhood journey. But I think, yeah, just having you and a good lactation support was definitely key into having a good experience for sure.
Oh, that's so good. What would you say if you had to give someone listening to this who's preparing for birth, like your top I don't know, 2 or 3 tips, what would you say? I know that's such a hard question. I'm putting you on the spot.
I think one of the tips I'd give, and I actually was chatting to a friend recently who's fallen pregnant and is feeling all the feelings. Like you have a choice, and you can either choose fear and, you know, kind of going with the flow, or just being overwhelmed by everything, or you can fully embrace it and just like have faith in yourself, have faith in your support system, you know, have faith in your body that it will do the most amazing thing on the day. And I think once you accept that and you embrace it, it becomes just such a beautiful experience, from pregnancy to delivery to even the newborn phase. So yeah, just having confidence and choosing to back yourself is my number one tip. Second tip would be, yeah, like, it's, as you say, you don't really get a dress rehearsal on the day. So just making sure you have the right support system in place. And I think if I'm really honest, the reason why I didn't hire a doula earlier on is probably because I felt like I was being a bit bougie, you know, having all of these things and being like, oh, it might not be necessary, but actually this is like the biggest moment in a woman's life. So I think it's really, really important to have every box ticked in terms of support, and just feel really confident going into it. And the minute we hired you, I just felt like so much more confident, because I was just like, I know that I've got the right support in my corner. So yeah, I think that those would be my 2 tips: having faith in yourself, embracing it, and also just go all out on the support, because you'll definitely reap the rewards of it.
Oh, it's so good. I feel like it's so sad that doulas are sometimes considered a luxury, when, you know, there is so much evidence that shows the way that doula support improves birth outcomes. There's so much evidence. So it's like, it's sad that women feel like that's over the top, or that they're like, oh, I don't know, maybe I won't. Like, it's a big investment. Like, your birth is so significant, exactly what you said. Like, it's the biggest thing, you know. I think it's the hardest thing I've ever been through, for sure. And putting all the right evidence-based things in place is not a luxury. Like, I think that's a necessity.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I would have had as good of an experience if I didn't have your support. So yeah, definitely pro doula to all my friends now that I speak to. I'm like, hire the doula. Don't even think twice about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. So beautiful. Oh, Claire, thank you for sharing. It was so nice, even just, going back in time. And how crazy. I was just looking at the date. Today, when we're recording this, it's the 17th of March. And she was born on the 17th of February. So it's exactly a month after, which is so cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're doing this now, because that whole thing of like, you do start to forget a little bit, don't you? As the time goes on and you focus less on your labor and delivery, which is crazy, because as women, we focus so much on that in pregnancy. And then when you have the baby, as time goes on, you start to forget about what happened. So I'm glad we've done it now before all the detail is out of my mind.
So good. Oh, thank you, Claire.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your support. And it's been an amazing experience, and can't wait to have you on the team for number 2.
Oh, I'm so keen. I can't wait. Bring on number 2. Thanks for joining us for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a rating or a comment, and I can't wait to see you back here for the next one.